Shri Satinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nityananda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai, Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanand. So, good morning to all of you. Pranam. Like it happened yesterday, as I told you, I'm supposed to talk about Guru Tattva. Yesterday I was kind of doubting because so many topics came and I felt invited, compelled to go in some other directions. And today's not an exception to that rule. After some of the discussions that have transpired during the lectures and during the individual meetings with some of you. So many things to talk about and so many necessities, so to say, to address, that each one of them will require a separate retreat, seminar, lifetime probably. And it's okay, again, we have an eternity on our side, so no rush. Bhakti is the means and bhakti is the goal, so we don't need to go anywhere. We're already doing what we want to do for eternity. So we are not after living samsara or mukti and all that stuff, but we are just happy to continue doing bhakti. So sukham kartamabhyayam. The process is so happy that where do you want to go? So if destiny, providence wants us to meet in other retreat for 108 more lifetimes, I'm open to that, no problem. You can count with my participation. So, but anyhow, I'll try to share some thoughts on Guru Tattva and approaches, pitfalls and potentials, as Devamado nicely depicted that. So yesterday we touched upon a little bit, probably more from the perspective of a disciple and the duty of the disciple and how we have to take care of not falling into over-idealizing and over-expectations and in that connection, forcing ourselves to see Guru as Uttam Bhagavad, Nitya Siddha, topmost Paramahamsa on planet Earth or whatever, and instead trying to embrace a more human, realistic faith which doesn't need to make everyone a superhero for it to be sustained. Because again, if we make everyone a superhero, we're basically dehumanizing people, and that's quite impersonal. So in that connection, we share about different ideas, why sometimes we as students may have the need unconsciously, sometimes in a codependent template, sometimes trying to avoid taking responsibility for our own lives and just praising someone so much that my life is on you, you tell me what to do, how to think, what to eat, how to comb my hair, whatever, which style of sikha should I have, and I do it, and if something goes wrong, it's your fault, not mine. Things like that, no? So it's important that we embrace a more realistic pattern where not necessarily, we also mentioned, not necessarily every single guru will be of that caliber, and it's okay. Not necessarily every disciple will be of the caliber of Dhruva Maharaj, so we gave that example, and it's okay. It's okay to embrace reality as it is. Srila Prabhupada published Bhagavad Gita as it is, but not only Bhagavad Gita has to be as it is, everything has to be as it is. Especially beginning with ourselves as we are, or as all that we can be. But it begins with as we are right now in the God bless this mess chapter of our lives. No? That was such a nice quote I found it there. Yeah. Remember, I went to that program. Everyone was like sharing their thoughts of the research. This program, this was the highlight. My highlight was that sign that is over there in the kitchen. God bless this man. Whatever. So today I like to talk a few words on Guru Tattva, but maybe from another perspective. That's in connection to some points that I I mentioned in my book. The subtitle of my book is of Radical Personalism is Revival Manifesto for Proactive Devotion. And for me, each of those words are very important. Even the word "for," what to speak of all the other ones. And each of them will require lots of time to unpack, but at least two words that are very crucial for me are revival and proactive. So for me, revival, of course, the very word revival implies the need for reviving something. Not something needs to be injected with new life. And when I say all the things in connection to our community, I'm not implying that the very Swarup, the very essence of Krishna consciousness is devoid of life. That's totally contrary to what Krishna consciousness actually is. Krishna consciousness implies exactly that. Consciousness, it's a type of flow in which we are constantly connected with that wave called Krishna. So Krishna consciousness is in its very essence is something completely alive. Aliveness is the main quality of our tradition in its essence. By the current state of the community may be something different from the very essence of our lineage. So the challenge for every member of the lineage is how we continue aligning ourselves with the essence of our tradition. The essence is always live, always evolving. As I like to say, Krishna is always becoming more Krishna. It's not that Krishna is something that is called Krishna and that's it. He can no longer upgrade his Krishnahood, so to say. No. In fact, Mahaprabhu for me, hopefully for us, is Krishna 2.0. It's Krishna upgraded. Krishna finds himself certain limitations in Braj and Krishna Lila, and he wants to take some experience, and it's like Gaur Hari manifests as Krishna as all that Krishna can be. As I like to say, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Krishna. And I won't go in that direction. That's a dangerous journey for me because I will stop talking all that I have to talk about and I will start talking about Mahaprabhu. And that's for another. That's a very tempting portal, I can tell you. So that's the essence of our tradition. Very tempting, very dynamic, very alive. But sometimes the historical unfolding of a community may get, as Jai Jagannath was saying yesterday, we have these cycles of creation, maintenance, dissolution, stagnation, and all this stuff. And sometimes a movement, the external packaging, so to say, of a particular movement may find itself in certain collective crisis, so to say. Not only on individual level we have our crisis, but sometimes we go through collective crisis as a community. And again, it's okay. No, I mean, I'm not saying let's be as much as in crisis as we can, but if crisis knock the door, okay, crisis is not a bad word. Technically speaking, the word crisis means turning decisive point. Has nothing to do with something wrong. Turning decisive point in which whatever you decide at that point will affect crucially the future unfolding of that. So of course it takes lots of responsibility, whatever I do here will affect my life forever. So I have to be quite introspective, thoughtful about what's my next step, because from that so many things will unfold in one direction or another. So I personally feel and try to make hopefully some type of sober case for the idea that I consider that Gaudiya Vaishnavism, not only Gaudiya Vaishnavism, so many other movements, but we happen to be Gaudiya Vaishnavas. So let's begin at home. We are in some considerable crisis in terms of how to unfold and how to continue in a way that is sustainable. And probably the implications of that is we need a revival. And revival either means some anarchic revolution and let's burn everything and protest and be resentful. I was an anarchist in my teenage years, so I already had my portion of that. But actually revival means, again, remind each other of what we are here for and what's the nature of Krishna consciousness as a dynamic unfolding eternally. And let's continue in connection with that, the necessity of the times in connection to the internal nature our tradition, which is, again, ever evolving, ever evolving. Krishna consciousness is never the same after 1 second. It's something new. That's the nature of transcendence. Krishna-das Kaviraj Swami says Krishna becomes more beautiful at every moment. And the love and dedication of the devotees increase proportionately to how much Krishna's beauty increases. And he says, so a competition starts between the two of them in which none of the two parts accept defeat. So that implies eternally they are wrestling, so to say. Krishna's beauty increases, the devotee's dedication increases, and that dedication that goes to him makes him more beautiful. Actually, Krishna becomes more and more beautiful because of the amount of love he's receiving. But that beauty that is this byproduct of that love increases that love. So it's kind of a self-nurturing cycle which has no end. It's like a spiral. It's not just a circle, but a spiral which every time becomes more embracing. Jayana was talking a lot yesterday about circles. And of course, the ultimate realities, a ultimate conception is reality is a circle dance, to be more precise. I remember when I visited Richard Rohr in New Mexico some months ago. That's another retreat in itself to show what happened there. But we were talking about that. Again, we were sharing notes, and he was like, okay, in Christianity, we consider that the ultimate reality is a circular dance. And I was like, he even quoted the Greek term perichoresis that they used for that. And that means circular dance. Reality is a constant dynamic movement and flow of celebration. And he started to describe that, and I was like, have you been reading Rasa Panchadhyaya recently? We have our perichoresis. We call it Rasa Lila, circular dance. That's the ultimate reality. So anyhow, the point is that that's how reality moves. It's in constant movement and dancing and celebration and unfolding. So we are representatives of that movement. So how much we are moving. Krishna consciousness movement. Movement doesn't mean a building. Movement means something is moving. Whatever is moving starts moving inside. That's how this movement started. Gaudiya Sampradaya started with Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu never intended, I have a master plan for creating a religion. Mahaprabhu never thought about that. He was just, in the words of Srila Siddha Maharaj, a golden volcano of divine love. That was his strategy, erupting at every step. So much was moving inside of him. The whole movement was in his heart that eventually created another type of movement outside. But the outside movement has to reflect the inside movement. If not, the movement stops rendering its purpose. So Mahaprabhu started the movement in the sense of so much was happening in his heart that he couldn't contain himself, and he started to move. He started to celebrate his inner movement by external movement, by dancing, by singing, by celebrating, by Sankirtan. And that external movement created another type of movement in time. So we call Krishna consciousness movement, Gaudiya Sampradaya. So, but again, the question is, and this question is for every generation. Again, this is not like, okay, this is the duty of our generation to ask this question. The duty of every generation is to over and over again ask this question, probably on a daily basis. How our external movement is representing the internal movement, or how much internal movement is going on in our own hearts to begin with. How much Krishna consciousness is becoming all that it can be, or it's just, as I put in my book, it's just a bonsai version of it. I talk in my book about bonsai Gaudiya Vaishnavism. You know what's a bonsai, right? So no. It's like you don't know.
No. Bonsai tree. Bonsai tree?
No, don't know.
Bonsai.
You know.
No, I don't.
Really? Jai Jagan, you know more words than all of us put together. You say misanthropic and you don't know what's a bonsai. Yeah, I would say.
Yes,
I would say. So what's a bonsai, please?
Let's
school Jai Jagannath Prabhu.
It's a tree that you can
Cultivate.
its roots are constricted to the point that it can't become a full tree,
Mhm.
and it becomes like warped, and it's like an artificial beauty.
It's a mini tree. It's a miniature thing.
Yeah. So it's my point is the tree has a potential to grow in certain way, but you don't allow that to happen by submitting the tree to certain boxes or parameters.
Think of the movie Karate Kid.
You are not
Karate Kid.
you are not alone. Some other people doesn't know also. No problem.
It's trained by wires, though, so it's restricted for literally decades to grow in a very specific way.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to be more bizarre, people do that bonsai technique with animals also, but that's even more weird. So I won't go there. I mean, we do that with ourselves in so many ways. That's my point. No? Even we don't enter into a physical box and remain like this size. We enter into so many boxes. Remain bonsai version of ourselves. No? So sometimes we project our own bonsai-ness into the movement we are being part of. So Krishna consciousness has a potential of a giant, but somehow can become restricted in the way it's being represented. And in that connection I mentioned, we may be embracing a bonsai version of a potential giant, basically. And that's not the idea. Again, that's very unbecoming. And we may be just participating in a movement, but for the wrong reasons. That can happen. I mentioned that in my book as well. The thing is not so much staying as a Gaudiya Vaishnava or living Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but staying for the right reasons. Because we can continue in a movement for the wrong reasons also. That's pretty delicate and dangerous. So again, some words in connection to this point of revival, and I'm gradually connecting this with Guru Tattva, hopefully. So pray for me. So we need some revival, and sometimes the revival means we need a new version of it, a new way of understanding. Although sometimes certain structures, and not necessarily external, but ways of conceiving stuff, they need to collapse. Sometimes we may struggle to keep the structures together, and it may be a noble effort, but in some situations, the healthy thing is allow that to go back to the earth, so to say. And with this, I'm not giving any prophecy like everything will burn to ashes and we'll begin from scratch, but my point is just let's remain open to accept when some things need to collapse or they need to die. As we were talking the other day, Krishna. I was not Krishna. I went to Krishna and Arjuna. You were giving which example was?
Brahma.
Oh, Brahma, yes, thank you. Krishna telling Brahma, well, the best thing you can possibly do is to die. But not physically, a more difficult death. Die to a way of thinking. Like I was telling the other day, I don't know how much I would many people, but I was talking with Richard Rohr again, and we were talking about addiction and how different people have different addictions. And he told me, but there's one addiction that we all share unanimously, and that's the topmost one. I was like, wow, let's see which one. Let's see how I'm breaking one of the 4 regs in terms of addiction, intoxication. He said, the main addiction we all share is addiction to our own thoughts, to our way of thinking. And there is even in statistics and research done that on a daily basis, on a good day, all of us are willing to question our own thoughts maximum 5%. On a good day, on a shiny retreat day like probably today, good environment, some feedback there, 5%. That's basically zero almost. That's closer to zero than to 100%. Just to be generous in the description. So we may be quite addicted to that. And again, sometimes we need some of those structures to collapse for us to realize there is another way of being a Gaudiya. There's another way of living the tradition. Because if not, as well, Deva Mother once told me, our leaving the tradition from that bonsai constricted place will look more like leaving. I'm leaving the tradition. Although at the same time leaving the tradition, I'm here. No, it seems like you are leaving. You are going out the place. You're not really. We are not really participating. So I call that revival, and I also use the term proactive. With proactive means I'm acting now with some clear concern for what's going on in the future and trying to anticipate what's going on, so we don't wait for a further collapse to say, so what to do now? No. Like if you know, I don't know, in certain cities there may be some earthquake, so you won't wait for an earthquake to prepare the city for the earthquake. That's not very smart. So you have to be proactive. You have to be preventive and construct stuff, so whenever the earthquake comes, okay, we were somehow prepared. So proactive basically has to do with that. I call it my book Anticipatory Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Now, how to anticipate things. You are not just wait for everything to happen and, okay, what to do now? No. You have to anticipate reality as much as we can, of course. We cannot anticipate everything, and we love to have patience with mystery. No, let's control the future and anticipate everything, but on some level, we have to be. We have to be cautious and proactive and deal with some of the situations that are at present affecting our tradition. As we were talking these days, there is considerable unresolved, unhealed issues in so many layers of our community. I talk in my book on the collective unconscious of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, going to Jungian terms, like there's lots of shadow work to be done and exploring and doing descent work, which was the face of the deep depth, you say yesterday, trying to confront that. Sometimes we are lots about transcending and ascending, but not so much about descending. So we should embrace a descending religion. Let's explore which was the face of the depths?
The face of the deep.
The face of the deep. Sometimes I want to transcend. I want to go upwards. Only, but sometimes we need to go downwards. That's part of the duty. As we were talking these days, probably we need to grieve all together and to stay in that place for some time and to find a corresponding set of tears for our particular stage. Each stage of the process, and that idea came when we were talking with Tamal Krishna the other day in the podcast. Each stage of our practice has a corresponding set of tears, and you have to own them and to include them. Like a siddha, like a perfected being, you will be crying like Mahaprabhu was crying in Gambhira, in ecstasy, in separation of Krishna. Like a conditioned soul, you will be crying for your frustrated results of enjoying, exploiting the resources of the environment. But as a sadhaka, you have to learn what to cry for also, what to lament for. Prabhupada will say there's lamenting for that which is not worthy of lamentation. Indirectly, he's saying there's always something worthy of lamentation that you should be crying for. So we should find our corresponding set of tears and stay there, learn to stay there. Let's learn to grieve, learn to lament. Also for the condition in which maybe as a community and from that place, not lament in a depressive way and all that embracing, no. But there's a place for that. Again, there's a place for grieving, as hopefully we learn these days. And that may take some time. Again, it's not like, let's grieve as soon as possible, as quick as possible, we can be ecstatic again. No. No. You may need I was telling yesterday that to, I think, Deva Madhava, or again, I don't know whom, but someone, that in some Gaudiya institutions that I know, at least some missions coming from the Gaudiya Math, one example is when the Acharya has left his body or her body, and there's some successor. Generally in Gaudiya Math missions, they appoint one particular successor. The successor does not start his official service after 1 year of the passing of the Acharya. He doesn't initiate. It's like 1 year of grieving. Wow. No? So I like that idea. No? Like, because it's like in Vedic astrology, it's like a sandhi. No? like a transition period between one, let's say, one age and the other. Between ages, there are yugas, there are sandhis. Like it's not Dwapara, it's not Kali, it's Sandhi between the two. So we are like transitioning forward. So, so many times in our own individual life, many times in our own communal life, there's these sandhis, and some of them will be grief sandhis, so to say. Let's stay for that. So we are moving to a new chapter, but we have to honor this particular transition period, as long as the transition wants us to be there. That's important. I know it's unsettling and it's uncomfortable, but you have to learn to embrace the transition, so to say, as unexpected and unsettling as it may be. I mean, in my personal life, I'm in a very transitional chapter now. And this, I remember, it was so unsettling. And this tendency came like, I want to run away from this because it's completely like unclear. And before that, everything was like nicely compartmentalized, everything in order. No, but chaos knocked my door. As you mentioned yesterday, bring a realm of possibilities, which is positive, but also... And this insight came, no, I have to stay in this transition period as long as Krishna wants me to be there. So I don't want to run away from that. I want to honor whatever I need to see and learn from that unique perspective, because being in a transition period is a unique perspective. Take it like that. Not take it like it's unsettling. No? It's a unique perspective that you won't have in a non-transition period. So I think as a community, we are going through a particular transition period. Let me read a few words from my book in this connection, if you allow me, just briefly. In connection to a question that we may ask ourselves, and we should, which is, what's the future of Gaudiya Vaishnavism? What's the future of Krishna consciousness? That's a healthy question to ask ourselves daily, basically. Hopefully not in a neurotic spirit, but just what's the future of this movement? And taking responsibility for our role in it. So this comes in a chapter called A Living School of Prophets, an urgent need for proactive revival. It says, with so many member-generated obstacles blocking an honest and fruitful exploration, how are we to approach the pivotal question about the future of our tradition? A simple and sustainable approach is to begin by acknowledging that the future of Gaudiya Vaishnavism lies in our own hands, not in big institutions or megalithic managerial arrangements, nor in unimaginable miracles or enlightened avatars. While all these aspects may be there and even help us greatly, at the end of the day, it is up to us to decide the only thing we are capable of deciding: how to offer our life in the service of our life-giving tradition. This is how any real journey begins, develops, and sustains itself. The tradition can flourish when there is a very remarkable mission in the mind of each of its members, coupled with their committed words living in their flesh, causing them to move. This proactive action implies a visionary revival, transformation, and constant adaptation according to the contours of our time and circumstances. This is not necessarily an organized religion, but a creative one. However, these processes always begin from a fully responsible individual, and from there, like from the locus of an explosion, expanding until it finally reaches the collective. So, yeah, it has to do a lot with personal responsibility and being creative in our participation of Krishna consciousness. So that said, a few words on revival and proactive. I want to introduce that in connection to a brief topic I would like to share today on Guru TATTVA, which is because our tradition revolves so much about the relationship between Guru and disciple. But I personally also feel that the relationship guru-disciple needs to be not cancel at all. Please don't take that. Don't cut my audio out of context and make sense. But it's an ever-evolving thing. I mean, Krishna consciousness is ever-evolving. Guru-disciple relationship is ever-evolving. So we need to be always open to redefine what does it mean to be a guru, what does it mean to be a disciple, which type of different models of the relationship and the dynamics of teaching and learning have been employed, are working, will work, will not work, depending the case, and so on and so forth. So, so yesterday we focused a little bit more from the duty of the disciple toward the guru. So today I'd like to mention a few things in the opposite direction. In connection to the guru's performing his or her, just in case, his or her, and that's another retreat in itself, but I think we all understand the point. His or her seva. And that's something that comes to my mind is what Srila Rupa Goswami mentions in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is a guru should not accept too many disciples. So, of course, it doesn't end there. I will clarify what do I mean by that, and Rupa Goswami means that there. So once Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was given a lecture, I'm quoting this section. She said, the guru shouldn't have too many disciples. So one hand was raised in the audience. A disciple of Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta asked, but Gurudev, you have so many disciples. Some soundtrack was required for this moment. We go to some announcement for a few seconds. We return. So someone asked him, like, you are telling, quoting Rupa Goswami, Guru should not have too many disciples, but you have a few thousands. So he said, that's a matter of personal capacity. Too many. What's too many? Depending on each case. For some people, to have a few thousand, it's too many disciples, probably for most. For some people, to have a few disciples is too many. For some people, people to have one disciple is too many. For some people, to be a disciple is too many. And it's okay. I mean, I'm not condemning anyone. I even know people who will come to me and say, Maharaj, I cannot commit myself to all that it takes to be a disciple, to all these commitments and vows. I don't know if in this lifetime I will be able to be a disciple officially. And I'm like, it's okay, no problem. I mean, you continue advancing from where you are. If you don't get to reach that mark, you will come eventually. So my point is, for some people, it's too much to be a disciple. We are not stigmatizing the people. We are just stating facts, so to say. So Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta will make this point. So yeah, it's a matter of personal capacity. So in that connection, I want to unfold a few thoughts in connection to different templates between the guru-disciple relationship and how that's expressed. And as I mentioned yesterday, how ideally the connection should be one of Vishrambhena Guru Seva, of love, affection, intimacy, where somehow or other the guru and disciple get to be intimately connected in some way or another. Now I will unfold that. But as I mentioned yesterday, not so much as a hierarchical, vertical, Aishvaric thing that whenever my guru enters the room, I start to tremble. I'm not in ecstasy precisely. But because of fear and I'm getting nervous. And there's place for that. I mean, kindergarten stage of being a disciple, you will go through all those sattvic paths, so to say. But eventually, the bond has to blossom. And it did grow, it will converge in this sense of mutual collaboration from a very loving place in which the two of us are serving this common ideal and are somehow assisting each other from its own particular unique place. Because the disciple is assisting the guru, and the guru, of course, assisting the disciple. And the two of them are completely committed to the ideal and to the relationship. But for this to happen, again, to allow this intimacy, and I think that's something that I mentioned in my book. In the scripture said the guru has to know Shastra, the guru has to have internal spiritual realization, and something that the Bhagavatam also says, the guru has to be upasama ashrayam, which basically technically means he or she has taken shelter in true tranquility. Upasama ashrayam. No? He or she has taken shelter in tranquility. We sometimes it's translated, the guru's senses are under control, which is okay, fair enough. But also I like to nuance that also with the guru has to have a balanced humanity. Tranquility, balanced humanity, psycho-emotional, relatively balancing that. I mean, you can, I'm not saying you have to be 108% balanced in every sense, but considerable balance to deal with the disciples' humanity. Because if you don't have your humanity in place, how you will deal with the humanity of your disciples? As I mentioned in my book, the duty of the disciple is to be vulnerable in front of the guru, to be naked, so to say, to be transparent, to be surrendered. And the guru has to know what to do with that vulnerability. You have that's not so easy. I mean, if someone is vulnerable in front of you, fully vulnerable, I mean, there's a great potential for empowerment in that moment, or there's a great potential for abuse. Vulnerability without proper appreciation can be trampled and can be traumatic, basically. So the guru has to be, one more thing, and I will finish with that. Let me show one page from this. The guru has to be very, very empathic. It says, ideally, the guru is to recognize what stage or state her disciple is operating from. I use the feminine gender here just to make the point. No? And I want you to feel weird about like, hair, why I never heard. Okay, that's the way. You have to enter into the... Ideally, the guru is to recognize what stage her disciple is operating from. You have to know the person. From there, she will reflect back to them an understanding of these and then help her students relate in a healthy way to that unfolding of their hearts. So that's kind of the guru's role. I'm hearing with you. No? In fact, a guru is someone who listens with her students to what God is asking them to do, and not someone who merely tells them what to do. Ideally, that should be I am accompanying you, and I'm hearing what Krishna is revealing in your heart and your mind. Okay, that's okay. And some support is coming, not just you do this. A guru should not usurp her disciples' destiny by making their problems her own, but should ideally hear, accompany, and nourish her disciples. However, if a guru cannot appreciate the disciples' vulnerability and therefore does not know what to do with it, the same portal to empowerment can suddenly turn into a portal for abuse and exploitation, even without the guru's intention to do so. Just not knowing what to do with another's vulnerability can be dreadful. Sometimes observable patterns can be detected. Gurus who have not allowed themselves to have deep, close relationships and intimate friendships are often the same people who may end up trampling one's vulnerability, something that can be rightfully deemed abuse of power. To put it bluntly, if a guru does not know how to deal with her students' vulnerability, she should probably not be serving as a guru. So that's in connection to having a balanced humanity and knowing what to do with. Sorry, yeah.
Sounds a lot like being a parent.
Well, there is a lot of parallels there, of course. And again, this is not limited to the guru disciple
brings to
relationship.
mind the different ashrams, and you know, it just sounds like parenting is good preparation for guruhood.
I mean, to be a parent is to be a guru, technically speaking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mother, father, first guru. Ideally, at least in Vedic society, that's how it's conceived, and that's I'm going in a few minutes. That how we are to ideally expand our sense of guru, because sometimes I think guru is this single person who initiated me, period. But in the Vedic, like cosmovision, guru begins at home, so to say, and expands into so many other ways. No, my husband, my wife, my mother, my son, my child. No, I mean, if you have the disciple, the disposition of a disciple, you will start like guru, 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 guru. I mean, Srila Siddhar Maharaj will say, our goal is to enter the land of gurus, where everything is guru, where even the land, the soil is guru. Everything is made of a substance which is ontologically superior to you. That's how he puts it. What does it mean to enter Golak Vrindavan? You will enter into a land where even the land is made of something superior than your own constitution. So everything is to be served by you there, even the land. So he will say, give the example, in that land, you will walking, how do you say in English, with your head to the, like this, with your head to the floor? No, because you are, everything is like venerable for you there. No? And he's giving the idea, it's not that literally you will be serving Krishna in the Leela like that. It's not too practical. But he's making the point. Our goal is to enter a land where everything is guru. And of course, we will never get there if we do not attain that vision here first. It sounds simple, but I try to make that point. No? Don't think like, no, in this lifetime, I only see one guru, but suddenly I will be transferred to a place where everything is guru. If you're not accustomed to see guru everywhere here, you won't go to the place where gurus are everywhere. So that's a kind of Kanishta, we'll say the parallel of the Kanishta vision. And the scripture says the Kanishta only sees Krishna in one place, in the altar. The Madhyam sees Krishna in other people. The Uttam sees Krishna everywhere. It's interesting, the symptoms for each one is the level to which one can perceive God's presence. No? In the beginning, it's hyper-localized. Krishna is in the altar. I'm probably only in my altar. That's the Kanishta version. Krishna is in my altar. Kanishta Madhya is Krishna is in the altar. In my altar and in the temple's altar. Kanishta Uttam in every altar. No, so Krishna is only here. Madhyam Krishna is in every living entity. Uttam Krishna is in every atom. And you can apply the same idea with the guru. Guru Kanishta will be, guru is only the one who initiated me. No? And so on and so forth. In the Madhyam vision is guru. There are more than one gurus. There is place for more than one gurus. And the Uttam vision is a land of gurus, where the guru is not. No? Like when Nrsimhadev asked Prahlad, is God there? And he pointed at the pillar. And Prahlad was like, where is he not? He was looking everywhere and seeing God everywhere. Like, there's not a spot that I cannot find him. Imagine. So anyhow. So yeah, it's quite connected, as you mentioned, to what does it mean to be a parent, what does it mean to be a mother, to what does it mean to be a guru. Because literally, and as I will go now, the Vedic traditional description of the guru and learning from the guru, the system was called Gurukul. And Gurukul literally means the family of the guru, which literally meant you go to live with your guru in his, her house. No? So you go to live there. And of course, the guru cannot fit more people than those that can fit under the roof of the guru's house. That was the traditional system. So I'll connect that with the point I want to make. And by this point, I'm not criticizing one system or another, one model of another, just sharing thoughts, brainstorming along with you in loud voice. But we can talk in terms of two models. One model could be one guru many disciples. On some other model, I'm presenting two, there can be 108, but just sharing a few thoughts. Some other guru can be many gurus, fewer disciples. So sometimes in the first model, one guru, many disciples, the guru may attract some people from the masses who are inspired to take up bhakti, and some of them will be serious enough to become initiates, practitioners, committed practitioners. But but in this system, the guru is receiving them, but the emphasis continues on getting more people, and all of them require the attention of that single guru. And as we mentioned, I remember all this in the context of Rupa Goswami saying, try not to have more disciples that you can handle. So if the guru's attention is divided into too many people, and newer newcomers that keep coming with the newcomers' struggles and issues, which is okay, but I mean, they require attention. And if all that is just converging into that single guru figure, the guru first may not be able to give special training to those who are already with him for some time. And the guru may not be able to address every single one of those persons because there are too many. I mean, we have 24 hours per day, certain limited capacities. So the point is that some of those disciples who require attention, who require guidance, may be confused, may be like discouraged because I have questions, I need time, I need personalized guidance, and I may not be receiving that. And sometimes, eventually, some of those disciples may leave, may take a distance from the whole situation, may look for a new guru, may return to a previous lifestyle. So in that case, I'm not saying that's a problem, that's wrong, because of course we know there are many gurus who have sometimes thousands of disciples. But in those cases, I will suggest we need some system where the guru has disciples who become themselves mentors, even if they're not initiating other people, but there is some kind of system where everyone can get personalized guidance, because that's the essence of the guru-disciple relationship, basically. You need to be educated, you need to be formed. Again, we may say, but Dhruva Maharaj only heard from Narmuni 5 minutes. No? And again, it was Dhruva Maharaj. So, sorry, I
just had a quick comment.
Yeah.
Actually, in support of your point. About 30 years ago, I was driving.
It can be against my point also, no problem.
I wouldn't interrupt, but I was driving Mukunda Maharaj to the airport in Los Angeles. About a 2-hour drive. And towards the end, this is in the 90s, he said, I have 35 disciples now, and I'm thinking of stopping initiating because I want to have a relationship with each one of them, And it was the first time I'd heard that concept, but I just appreciated his, what you're explaining, the guru knowing their capacity and finding what's the right balance and, or the right system to properly reciprocate with it. Anyway, it just
thank you for the contribution. And again, bear in mind, we are talking about acknowledging one's capacity. So someone may have the capacity to have 4,000 disciples, like Prabhupada had, be, of course, uniquely empowered and spend so much time writing letters, not only writing letters, writing books, writing purports. So that's one way of really trying to keep in touch with each one of them. Jai Jagannath.
Someone was asking yesterday about having some discomfort about the guru relationship, like the connection to God needing to be through the medium of a guru.
Yeah, Anya.
And something came up for me with that question. This from the Bhakti Sandarbha. It's in the section on surrender. And anyway, I just want to read a little section of it. I want to hear some comments on this. It says, in this regard, it is true that all perfection is accomplished simply through surrender. as stated in the Garuda Purana, quote, those who have forsaken the paths of meditation and yoga and taken refuge of you certainly transcend death and attain the supreme abode of Bhagavan Vishnu. In spite of this, however, if one longs to taste a specific flavor of love and has the ability to do so, he should constantly and single-mindedly render service to the lotus feet of a guru who can instruct one in the confidential conclusions of the devotional scriptures, or who initiates one into the mystery of the mantras that pertain to Bhagavan. So this statement has always kind of tripped me up a little bit. Not tripped me up, but made me wonder. Because it sounds like here saying by Sharanagati alone you can attain God. No need, or there's no necessary obligation to the guru as such, because by Sharanagati that relationship can be established with the Lord. Which kind of makes me feel like, well, yeah, sometimes you hear like these mystics and other traditions, they don't seem to have like gurus, but they seem to have high level Shantara Reti type realizations, which are like impressive and even inspiring in some cases. But if you want to know like the esoterics pertaining to the Lord's confidential Leela, obviously you need someone who can instruct you in that. And so yesterday at lunch, Ujjwala was making the point that, yeah, I get the sense that what people are looking for from a guru is like a bhajan shiksha guru who can inspire them essentially in that like more esoteric realm. And this was in response to me saying, what happened to the relationship with the guru just being educational? Like the guru teaches you the tattva and like, now, you know, do your thing. Like he did his duty, or she has done her duty. But it was like, yeah, they're looking for someone who can guide their bhajan towards that more. So yeah, I'm kind of interested in comments. If you have any comments on this, like my first one is like, Sharanagati, surrender to God seems to be sufficient if you're just trying to have a relationship with God, like a communion. But if you're trying to enter into that realm of divine Leela, then you want a guru who can really instruct you in that. And it does seem that that's kind of, well, yeah. And so looking to the future Gaudiya Vaishnavism, because we're trying to promote Krishna Leela, we will want gurus who are acquainted in tattva and also experientially with Leela, because that's what we're looking instructions for. Otherwise, just surrender to God. Like if you're having a hard time trusting the purity of gurus and so on. Like, so I don't know. You have a comment on this? Because this particular sentence has really always made me wonder, like, I mean, it's like, it's interesting to me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, I agree with your points to begin with. And that's why as we were talking, I think yesterday, that some people will think like, yeah, unless you are initiated, you share something, nothing is going on, or not necessarily that's the case. As you are quoting from Jiva Goswami, you can even embrace Sharanagati from a particular place, and so much can come from that. A lot. But what Jiva Goswami mentions there is, I will say, it's Gaudiya common sense. Like if you want to penetrate into the minutiae and the specificity of a life of Leela and all its implications, that requires a pretty personalized mentorship, so to say, because it's so personalized. So that requires something very, that corresponding level of radical personalism that's going on there in the Leela requires a corresponding personalized address and mentorship and guidance. So, and yes, sometimes Srila Jiva Goswami will refer to that as the Sandarbhas as Bhajan Siksha Guru. And I won't torture you with too many terms today and different types of gurus and functions, because of course Bhajan Siksha Guru can be the very same guru that gave me Diksha or initiation. It's not that, okay, that's a separate guy or lady that has to come to perform that unique function because this guru gives it. No. But it can also be someone else apart from the person who is giving me initiation. So again, depending each particular case, I will say it's important that, yeah, we become aware, as we say yesterday, like, why do I want a guru? to begin with. No, I mean, I want to be a disciple, but why? What I'm looking for? And probably the idea I was looking for is just this. And when you contact the guru or the sales, you realize, oh, I came for this, but it was about this. No? Huh. So then you start like the GPS, like recalculating. Like, okay, like doing some ritual like we did yesterday. Okay, I'm losing this sense of identity as a disciple. I thought that this was disciple, but now I'm discovering this means to be a disciple. And so many times that will happen. So yeah, I will say that correspondingly to our level of discovery of Krishna consciousness and all that Krishna consciousness implies, we will need corresponding guidance to that. In the beginning, some devotees will be okay receiving some more generic support and instruction, which is what they need at that stage, and it's okay. Don't need to overwhelm them with the ultra detailed specificity corresponding to higher periods. But eventually a particular level of inquiry and taste and necessity and doubts will start to come more specific. No? I like to call Raganuga Bhakti like the path of specificity. It's not generic. Again, it's not like, oh, just do that and you go to. And like sometimes I joke to the devotees, similar to what you do, Jai Jagannath, and when you ask them, what's the goal of life? Don't tell me Krishna Prem. But even if you tell me Krishna Prem, my immediate question will be, or if you tell me love of God. Sometimes that's the American version of it. So I will ask, okay, which type of love or which type of God? No? Let's go from generic to ultra specific. Love of God. Okay, which type of love for which type of God? Krishna, Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, whomever, Vishnu. No, for Krishna. Okay, love for Krishna. For which Krishna? Vrindavan, Raja Krishna, Mathuresh Krishna, Dwarkesh Krishna. Oh, Raja Krishna. Okay, which type of love for Raja Krishna? Madhurya Prem for Raja Krishna. Okay, which type of Madhurya Prem? Parakiya Bhav, Swakiya Bhav. Of course, it's not that you just decide like this, like if you go to a supermarket.
Flow chart.
Ice cream sundae.
Give me 3 bottles of Parakiya this time. I will try this ice cream today. It's not like that. It doesn't happen like that, just in case. But let's say, okay, Parakiya Bhav. Then which type of Parakiya Bhav for Raja Krishna? No? Because you have direct connection with him, direct union, Sambhogechamai, or you have Bhavolas. What's the term? Yeah. So then, okay, you choose what sometimes is called more literally Manjari Bhav. So I want to say, oh, Manjari Bhav. So which type of Manjari Bhav? Under the guidance of which particular group leader, no? Yudhishthira. So my point with this, I don't want to torture you. It's not that you have to reply to me those things now, but from love of God to, okay. Now you go back to love of God, and it's like absolute abstraction. No, that's why in the Ramananda Sambad, when Mahaprabhu was talking with Ramananda Roy, and he was inquiring about Sadhya Sadhana Tattva, what's the goal of life and how to get it? Of course, Ramananda Roy says so many things that Mahaprabhu rejects. No, that's superficial. That's egubahya kahar. And at one point he says, Prem. No, they're in this same conversation. What's the goal of life? Love of God. Mahaprabhu said, continue. I'm not satisfied yet. I was like, wow, what's going on here? I thought that was the official answer to invoke when someone asked you that. Mahaprabhu is like, we are just like warming up here. No? Like when you put the car, like, we're warming up. We are going somewhere, but go on. Until Mahaprabhu has to tell Ramananda, stop talking. That's too much. Okay, thank you for your answer. So yeah, gradually we will start to, but not like an intellectual curiosity. No? Okay, I want to be more specific and know more. It's more like a very passionate necessity, so to say. I really need to become more specific, more personalized. Again, radical personalism is you get to a point of you as a person, as an individual, when you want to be very specific about how you want to relate to God. You know? I mean, I think that happens with any person. You know? You relate with your wife in a certain way, with your mom in a certain way. You cannot just relate with your mom as if she's your wife or your children. It has to be specific in the realm of that corresponding relationship. And inside that, unique flavors are coming. And in time, unique flavors will still coming. So yeah, sorry, you will raise your hand.
It's kind of just a follow-up, a similar question. But if someone isn't coming, like looking to the future of the guru, let's say soft institution, like if we were to become gurus in the future,
but all gurus are need to see that, so only them can become gurus. We don't have chance. Sorry.
Rejecting that notion.
Okay. Okay.
So suppose we in the future, future generation, we want to run the service of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, and so somehow it comes upon us the idea that we might become guru, or somehow life is seeming to indicate that. In taking that responsibility, do we really need to? This is just thinking out loud. If someone isn't really inquiring about that highest reality, do they really need to become disciples? Would they not be satisfied with just would it not be sufficient to just give them instructions on Sharanagati? Like that's the essence of Bhagavad Gita's highest teaching is surrender to Krishna of Braj, according to our Gaudiya Acharyas. You surrender there. And only if by continuous hearing of Katha, the idea comes to them that I'm after that realm, and then they come seeking discipleship with that in mind, then only we should accept. Now, obviously, that would be a little bit contrary to what we've seen from like Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, where they kind of embrace everyone. And, that's like one method that was for that generation. But I'm thinking about looking to the future. It seems like if the injunction, you started us off with Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, don't accept too many disciples. So we can just say that, the essence of the highest teaching, surrender to Krishna. And if the disciple or the persons who are coming to us that's what they're getting, and they're not getting the intuition or inspiration or direction for anything higher, then do we really need to accept disciples, so to speak? And this is obviously just thinking out loud, just going through all of this.
It is an ongoing conversation, and it's not just like here we are giving you the final conclusive truth on how to deal with all these issues forever. No, nobody's saying that. Just in case we are exploring together some possibilities. And again, we are, at least personally, I'm not of the idea of there will be only one way of doing everything, because that's another form of dictatorship or narrow-mindedness. But regarding what you were telling, I was thinking, okay, you can tell someone, no need to accept a guru, just engage in Saranagati, surrender. But at the same time, it's tricky because what the person understands by that. So most of us need a guru to understand what surrender. Just this surrender, it's like, okay, what surrender? So someone has to be there answering that question. Oh, there are 6 angas of surrender. What are those 6 angas? So I will say also on one level, I personally feel that what Srila Jiva Goswami is saying, I mean, I'm not canceling what we talked so far, but I will say similarly to what you read from Prabhupada yesterday. That's a way of Jiva Goswami is emphasizing the power of surrender. Like when Shastra is saying, Harinam is independent of Diksha. The holy name of Krishna can give you all perfection independently of Diksha. So one can say, okay, so I continue chanting Harinam and don't get initiated by anyone because the name can give everything. Similar criteria. But of course, you then go to the nuanced idea of, okay, but there are 10 offenses to avoid in the chanting, and one of them is Guru Rabhagya, which is neglecting the principle of the Guru. So in theory, Harinam can give everything, and there may be some exceptional cases which just receive that perfection without officially having Diksha. But also we know that Harinam, which is non-different from Hari, likes to give himself through the medium of the guru. So if you neglect that principle, it's tantamount to aparad, and aparad gets in the way of the reaping the full fruits of Harinam. So I would say something similar in the sense of, okay, just by surrender, you can attain everything. You can attain everything. You can attain Krishna, everything in one way. It's a way of saying, okay, Saranagati is so powerful. No, don't watch out not to underestimate the power of Saranagati. But I will say that when you enter into the practical situation, okay, I will just do Saranagati and attain Krishna. Probably you will have to inquire from someone like, what's Saranagati? How to do that? And so that person starts to become your guru in some level. I'm not saying it's giving you initiation. So in that sense, one could say the person is giving you siksha, and you, okay, engage in Saranagati. But I would say that many times, naturally, that siksha, that experience of Saranagati you're having, eventually tends to be expressed in the direction of Guru Padastra. You want to express then Saranagati in connection to that particular person. So I will make that point also, like Jiva Goswami says that in one sense, mainly, again, exceptional cases, yeah, you can just Saranagati out of your own and attain Krishna, but generally it's a statement of how powerful Saranagati is. But generally how much you also need to take guidance from someone in order to engage in Saranagati. Okay.
I really appreciate that verse that you shared. And I think also in my own experience, and just from hearing that's been discussed, one thing is that there's something that's happening in Diksha. There's a lot more going on than the disciple may be aware of. That the guru is aware, can see more potential in the disciple than the disciple may see at that stage in their life. And I think even within our institution, there are gurus that have different approaches. I think there are gurus that are more maybe doing in the direction of what you specified. And then in my own experience, because you were mentioning the point that the disciple is going for a guru, maybe they're not like clear of the goal yet, but they do have a goal that's spiritual. And from my own experience, and I've met devotees that went for many years and really performed and really experienced deep levels of devotion just by virtue of like their faith in what they've read in Prabhupada's books and in what they were, how they related to the gurus in the movement without having Diksha. Like in my personal experience, I read like Introduction to Krishna Consciousness and Nectar of Devotion and Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, like first canto. And at that stage, I felt like I was very convinced of the overall philosophy, but I needed a person to be accountable to, like a person, like a living person in front of me to be accountable to, in order to actually commit myself to it. Like I needed to see that person that, okay, like this is the person that, like I couldn't do it for myself or for Prabhupada. Like it had to be a person that I felt like, oh, I'm indebted to you. And when I was feeling the weight of that, very quickly that person came into my life. And so, and I would say like, I just had a vague conception like Krishna Prema. But then that person came into my life, and then even just taking shelter of that person, suddenly I was able to come up to the standard that I was wanting to come to. But before having that person in my life, I wasn't willing to come to that standard for my own self because I didn't have faith in my own self. Like, just by my conviction, can I really like be this metric that I consider what it means to be a disciple of what Prabhupada's presented? But then once that person came into my life, I felt, oh, as an accountability to him, like I have faith that by his mercy, I can actually do that. So the conviction in my ability to practice bhakti came from my spiritual master appearing in my life. So, and as a further point, because you mentioned the prem and those other things, for my own reflection, it's that I became overwhelmed because I've heard you speak before about higher levels of initiation into like Raganuga Bhakti, like what that really implies more than kind of a myopic understanding that I've carried for many years is like, you know, specific, like what kind of manjari, like this kind of thing. And whenever I first started hearing these things, I was like very overwhelmed. I was like, oh, I'm zero because I can't even imagine what that would mean for me. But like just recently, and especially here and now in this discussion, I realized like, hey, well, this is where I am, and there is a very specific thing. But like now I can see, oh, there's stages even between prema and that. And this conversation is really helping me consolidate. Like I can start to see clearly and tangibly like the next steps that I can take toward that, but are also tangible to my life now. Like what elements of bhakti can I take now that I'm really already taking, but in the context of serving a more particular mood. Even though it's funny because externally it's like the same things, a lot of them, but the mood changes. And just appreciating that spectrum and how that may not be able to, how diksha is, or different guru relationships are happening along the way. Yeah.
Thank you. I think it's important, this point of, and I appreciate your, especially the last point you made, by talking about higher things. We are not pretending, hey guys, come on, enter into that, all these details. And I mean, you cannot force yourself into that. That will be sahaja. But it's, as also the Jagat mentioned these days, it's good to have at least some idea of the ultimate goal to attain on some way, on some level, to contextualize whatever we are doing here today, but also to establish healthy, sustainable short-term goals, middle-term goals, and long-term goals in our lives, and not mistake one for the other. No? Don't put your long-term goal as your short-term goal, because you will go neurotic. No? Like, what's going on? Prem is not coming. After this retreat, still, I'm here. No? That's a long-term goal. That may happen in a few lifetimes. It's okay. And once one devotee asked Srila Maharaj, Gurudev, if someone starts in this lifetime bhakti, let's say, how much time does it take for them to reach the ultimate perfection? Srila Maharaj was like, oh, again, that question. Who cares? No, in one sense, we shouldn't care. No, like once one devotee asked his guru, when will I get liberated? And he replied, when you stopped asking that question. I mean, when you no longer care for asking that question, then you are beyond that. You are, but in the case of Srila Maharaj, he said, well, if in this lifetime you start bhakti, and you are, of course, serious and consistent, maybe 2 or 3 lifetimes. And the devotee was shocked. Like 2 or 3 lifetimes? Like, and Srila Maharaj was, the devotee, shocked, and he was shocked. Is that too much, 2 or 3 lifetimes? No, from beginningless birth and deaths to attain such a goal, just 2 or 3 lives. Like, yeah. He was shocked by the devotee. So the point is, yeah, we have eternity on our side. There is no rush. Our goal is not mukti, leaving this place as soon as possible. Bhakti is not an evacuation plan for the afterlife. And we should be realistic and establish short-term, middle-term goals, and be willing to go through our embarrassing, God bless these next chapters with humble pride, so to say, being fortunate that I'm going through them. Like I was talking yesterday to someone, don't ask me who, well, with Ananda Murari, and I think Prem was there, I don't remember who Prem left. about Madhurya Kadambini, and how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is describing all these stages from Shraddha to Prem. And at one point, he describes Anartha Nibriti and Bhajana Kriya very much in detail. And he goes to Anishtita Bhajana Kriya, which means devotional practice with instability, you say in English? Unsteadiness. And he starts to define them in detail. Now, Utsama, Niyama, Akshama, Taranga, all of them. And one is more embarrassing than the other. No? But generally, when I describe them with the votes, okay, raise your hand who identify with this one. And it's like, second one, raise your hand. And everyone's like, no, at one point, it's like, we are doing choreography and all the hands are like, unanimous, no? And some of them are embarrassing. I mean, it's like lack of capacity of maintaining your vows and loss of enthusiasm and becoming like excited by material byproducts coming from bhakti and so on and so forth. It's like, and we may feel like, oh, I must, but when we go through those experiences, sometimes we feel, I must be doing something wrong. This shouldn't be happening. Again, we over-idealize and put the long-term goal, short-term goal. I should be feeling this, and I'm going through this dark tunnel. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is presenting them as stages of the practice. So the point is, when you are going through them, that's a confirmation that you are on the path. You follow. It's not the ultimate goal. I'm not saying stay there forever and celebrate your unsteadiness. But that type of unsteadiness, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is so generous that that's part of the bhakti experience. So that embarrassment is confirming you are on the path. So there is a reason to celebrate that. To be embarrassed, but to celebrate that embarrassment. So I'm saying that to be also a little bit non-neurotic about some of those experiences and entering into a guilt, shame trip and taking the whip and no, I must be failing, and that's why I'm experiencing this. And you are lamenting in excessive way was for something that probably you should be grateful for and celebrating on some level.
On that point, like I've heard many times, like
on which point, sir?
Like I like when you say eternity's on our side.
Not to be lazy, not to
yeah. But yeah. So that like I've heard. Make it out in this lifetime. If you don't make it out in this lifetime, Kali Yuga is getting worse. So if you come back, there might not be devotees, and you might meet them all.
You can lose your human form of life, and you never know. My gosh.
It's just like I'm already like on the like more anxious side and not wanting to be. Sometimes that like is like not helpful, I guess. So
you guess properly.
Okay, because
that's not our tradition. I mean, if you practice bhakti to get liberated, that's Gyan Mishra Bhakti basically. That's bhakti mixed with a desire for mukti. And that's not the Uttam Bhakti Rupa Goswami is describing. Jnana Karmati Nabritam. Or bhakti has to be Jnana Nabritam. It has to be unencumbered by the desire for liberation. When Mahaprabhu said, Nada Namna Janamna Sundarim Kabitam Ba. I want Kabit. Kabita means poetry, but also it means knowledge of the Upanishad that take to liberation. So Mahaprabhu in that Kabitam Ba means I don't care for liberation. We don't care for mukti. Moksha laguta krit, says Rupa Goswami. At one point of the process, moksha becomes insignificant. That's in bhava bhakti. In prema bhakti becomes non-existent. It disappears from there. So we are not practicing to, I hope I get liberated. No, I mean, that's not what Krishna is saying. Krishna in the Gita, what does he say? Neha vikramanasosti pratyabhayo navidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya triyate mahato vayat. He's saying, even one slight progress in the bhakti process will protect you from the greatest danger, and it will never be lost. For me, that's it. I mean, he makes it very clear. If you are in the bhakti practice seriously, you will never lose whatever you acquire. So there's not a point of in my next lifetime I may lose everything. I may not have sadhu sangha. I may lose human form of life and all these types of threats that sometimes are done without bad intention, I'm sure, from anyone. But you enter this type of collective neurosis, and that becomes the norm. Like we have to run away from here as soon as possible. And it has a lot. I mean, that's a whole different chapter and retreat. But it has a lot to do with this also, like world-denying approach to bhakti. Like this world is so bad, so horrible that we need to get out of here. No? And I can understand on some level there's place for saying that, but on some level there is place for not saying that and realizing Krishna is coming to this world perpetually to execute his lila. So how bad is this world? When Krishna is coming to earth, he executes his lila, concludes his lila on earth, goes to another planet earth, continuing the lila. So if he's perpetually on earth, how much you can say, oh, this is so bad, I want to live here. But Krishna is coming over and over again. Prabodhananda Saraswati is saying, Vishwam Purnam Sukhayate. The whole universe is full of joy. So yeah, I will try to, I'm more of the stance of, if you are sincere in bhakti, Krishna is giving the warranty, you will not lose contact with bhakti in your next life. You will not lose your human form of life. To emphasize that is an insult to bhakti, basically. It's an underestimating the power of bhakti. Bhakti is so powerful, so generous. Krishna is so merciful. If you are sincere as a devotee, don't you think Krishna is in your heart taking note? No, I will send her as a cockroach to be born. I'm joking, but I'm serious in the sense that by taking this stance of I may lose this at any moment, you are unconsciously projecting Krishna is not kind enough. Krishna doesn't know my heart. Krishna is not reciprocating lovingly. And even if I'm sincere trying to practice, there's the risk of losing everything at every moment. That's paranoia. That's not healthy. Imagine conducting yourself in practice like that for your whole life. Oh my gosh. No. The result of that won't be Golok Vrindavan, I can tell you. Probably will be the psychiatric hospital nearby. So it's a serious issue. We may be projecting a very distorted idea of who Krishna is by acting in that way. Because indirectly I'm telling Krishna, I don't trust you. You can send me to hell at any moment. You can make me lose this. And you put on your shoulders this extreme weight of it all depends on me. No? I have to struggle and deserve and earn, and it's a meritocracy. Like I have to guarantee that I gain and I don't. And you forget to offer your heart in a voluntary, loving way to Krishna because you are too busy and paranoid trying to not lose the human form of life and not going to hell. I'm not telling that to you. I'm telling in general, and all of us may visit those places or have visited those places, but I don't think that's very bhakti-like. No? It's based on fear and intimidation, and in some cases we tend to those things because sometimes we are just carrying some unresolved daddy projections, our childhood trauma with the authority figure, and we think, okay, God is like that also. So at any moment he may be angry, so I have to appease angry daddy. No, and you carry your spiritual life from that spirit. No, I hope Krishna is not angry with me. I hope Krishna forgives me. Oh, I didn't chant my 16 rounds today. Krishna must be so angry with me. He doesn't like me anymore. Who say that? We are projecting the idea. No? We are worshiping a God of unconditional grace, unconditional love. Karuna Sindhu, ocean of mercy. Ocean means you cannot see the beginning of the end of the ocean. We shouldn't lose sight of that. What to speak Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, they are partial. They are impartial in the sense that they are partial to everyone. That's their impartiality. They are partial to everyone. Especially if you are fallen and you acknowledge your fallenness, come to our gang, so to say. So I hope that helps to navigate that and to be more reassured, like I'm already in the path. What's the name of Ramana Maharsh's book, The Journey Home? I'm already there. So to have that confidence, it's not pride. It's not, oh, that's your false ego. You think you're already going back to, yes, I am. Not by my merit, but by the strength of bhakti, by the mercy of the Vaishnava. I have this confidence that I'm going to Krishna. Maybe this lifetime, a few more lifetimes, I don't care. I mean, I have no rush. The bhakti is beautiful, so I don't, I mean, from where I want to escape now, like someone was, again, asking Sulasia Maharaj about this neurosis, leaving this body and when to reach Goloka. I say, but bhakti is so beautiful, so where do you want to go? You already are doing bhakti, and you will plan to do bhakti for eternity. So what's the difference? It's just a difference of depth and intensity that you are to cultivate here now. So that's the beauty of bhakti. Bhakti is the means, bhakti is the goal. So we are already doing the same things that we will plan to do for eternity. In eternity, we plan to do bhakti. Now we are doing bhakti. In one sense, eternity came to us. So we don't have anywhere to go. There's no need to go anywhere. We are already there. The goal met us. For me, that's a more, not healthy only perspective, but realistic according to what is bhakti. We are already there. It's just the rest is a matter of time. So it's important to conduct ourselves with that faith and confidence. Yeah.
There's definitely this fear of like getting left behind.
Again, sorry?
Like a fear of getting left behind.
Yeah, but again, if you enter in that spirit, I'm being left behind. We lose sight of the grace and the mercy of Mahaprabhu and the Vaishnavas. We lose sight of that. So it's important never to lose sight of that, because we will start to see reality without unconditional love and grace, and that's hell. There's no prospect, there is no hope, there is no grace. I mean, what remains? So, yeah, and I think we one sec, sorry, one needs to remind ourselves of these things as a discipline on a daily basis. One can even include that as a form of one sadhana. You can put a sign on the wall of your house, like okay, yes, unconditional love. Yes, confidence and not losing my human form of life. Whatever one needs to be reminded of on your cell phone. I mean, I don't have cell phone, that's why I'm not giving those examples. You can put a reminder in your cell phone of those things. Even it may sound forced or mechanic, but sometimes we need like, you are not losing your human form of life, okay? No. Make Siri tell you that on a daily basis. Yeah. Because for many times you have heard the opposite, so we need to hear that so many times to really balance the equations. Okay.
It's causeless mercy.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing that we can do to obtain that. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve it more than anyone in this room.
But we need it as anyone in this world.
Yeah. And coming to the point where I realize that my devotion is more important than any rule that I follow. That's really what Krishna wants. He doesn't, in my mind, and forgive me if I'm wrong or speaking out of turn, but
I forgive you.
Thank you.
In advance.
You know me so well. There's this idea to follow a regimen, rules, doing things the right way, and all of this. And then I know that there's an intention behind it, but it seems like sometimes you lose your devotion in all of the rules. You lose the whole reason why you're here. And the whole reason why you're here is because you're a mess and you need God so much that there's no other place to turn but to God, to place your head on his feet and say, I'm so desperate.
I agree. Rupa Goswami says one of the 6 things you can do to ruin your bhakti is niyama graha, which means embrace rules, but losing the spirit of the rule and get entangled in the rule following, that will be ruining your bhakti, basically. So he's saying, if you want to ruin your bhakti, he's not saying like that, of course, but do this. Follow lots of rules without having a clue why the hell you're doing that. You will lose everything. And with this, I'm not promoting an anarchy or sahaja, just no rules, let's do whatever we want. But just to understand, the rules have purpose and have an intention, have an inner spirit. So we are to connect with the inner spirit of the rule. And sometimes, as it says, sometimes you have to break some rules to follow higher ones, deeper ones. But rules are to nourish love. Love is the ultimate rule. Love rules in every sense of the term. So whatever rules are taking me to embrace that rule, I accept those. Rules not necessarily have to be limiting. Rules have to facilitate. Like I gave the example the other day, again, I don't know to whom, but of a game. I play a game. Ultimately reality is lila. Lila means play. And any play, any game has rules. If there are no rules, you cannot play. If I say, okay, let's play chess with Gitanjali. I don't know how to play chess, just in case, but hypothetically speaking, let's say I suppose I know how. And I start to move the pieces as I like, just without following any rule. Gitanjali will be like, what are you doing, Maharaj? She will break all etiquette and tell me, Maharaj, you're nonsense. What are you doing? This is not fun. I mean, we are not actually playing chess. This is just this is sheer chaos. I mean, nonsense. So rules are there to bring excitement. If I follow the rules, it will be fun. So there's a place for rules and fun, so to say. So I like to conceive of rules in that. And Lila has rules. Lila's game, play. There are rules that if you break them, we call that rasabhas. We call that improper connection with the divine play. So rules have a purpose. But again, it's important. Sometimes we know when to break some rules or only to accept higher ones, to higher commitments. You can break a vow to keep a higher vow, like Krishna breaking his vow and going to Bhishma to kill him, to keep a higher vow, which is Bhakta Vatsalya. I always protect my devotees. Of course, Bhishma is his devotee, and if he's not protecting him, that's another layer of the discussion, but you get the point. So yeah, I totally agree with you. We have to be careful not to get. We have to connect to the spirit of the rule. Like I mentioned in my book, to give one example, the 4 regulative principles. That's kind of generally the rule that for many is like, that's quite emphasized here. And it's great, but you have to conceive the rule in a wide way, as we were telling the other day. The rule is not about no meat eating. That's not the rule. That's not the reg. The reg is about what? Being, we could say ahimsa, being non-violent. But even that is still a negative definition. Don't be violent. Why don't give that a positive expression? Be loving, be compassionate, be kind. And why stop there? Why not play out the full implications of the rule? Be as loving as you can. That's very different from no meat eating. That's the actual rule. Be as loving as you can. It's not about not meat eating. That's something that will help in that. But the actual rule, expression of the rule in a very sensitive way is be as loving as, and that's more difficult, of course. But that's more beautiful also. And just don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Watch out for just conceiving your practice in terms of don'ts. What do you do? I don't do this, I don't do this, and I don't do, no, but what do you do? I don't do this, and I don't do this, and I don't do this. It's like, my gosh, you're such a negative person. Yeah. And bhakti is so positive, it's ultra positive, but sometimes we choose to see it in terms of what not to do. It's like, that's not very becoming, basically. Vrindavan, sir.
Thank you for this discussion. It's something I've been struggling with, is like the rules and the love and the offering, and how, because I recognize we need we need some structure and some rhythm. These things are important. But I guess my question is that I've been struggling with recently is when you've already approached the rules, taken on the rules, like initiation, I think especially the conception of it is very rule-based. It's like to be initiated means I'm going to follow certain rules. I'm already following certain rules in terms of the regular principles, and then I'm kind of explicitly or implicitly understood to be agreeing to follow certain rules of sadhana practice that are pretty specific. And so I think for a lot of us, at least for myself, we take on these practices and these rules we're going to follow, but for the wrong reasons, with the wrong understanding. Maybe we do understand theoretically, but that's not the actual motivation, what we're really following. We're doing it so we look good, please people, so we feel like we're okay.
Not to go to hell, not to lose human form of life.
Not to go to the deepest hell.
Okay. Tala tala, rasa tala, but not pata. Sorry.
So for myself, I came to a certain point where I recognized, like, oh, I'm doing all the things for the wrong reasons, and that just has become so distasteful to me, which is good, but also hard because it's like, well, now I have trouble following the rules because I so much don't want to follow them for the wrong reasons, but there's like this kind of bad habit, toxic relationship that is formed with them. So it's like I can understand theoretically how they're meant to be followed, how these activities are meant to be formed. But because I've created this negative habit relationship with them, it's like, how do I now form a more proper relationship where I'm acting based on, the right reasons?
Yeah, great question, and I appreciate your, your integrity and courage to acknowledge, okay, I've been following this stuff for the wrong reason. I mean, that's painful, and I'm not saying it was all in vain also, because let's not go to those extremes, because that can happen sometimes. We realize, oh my gosh, this was not the proper way of doing it, but we tend to make it absolute and everything was a hoax and everything was in vain. I go to my depressive corner and it's like, as you said the other day, eating chips only. That was a good one, yeah.
Too close to home.
So, I mean, to begin with, I will say there is a place to celebrate that discovery, as embarrassing, as painful as it may be. So I think that's part of the acknowledgement of the epiphany you had. Okay, I've been doing that for the wrong reasons, but great, you are realizing that. So many people are doing that for the wrong reasons, thinking they're doing that for the right reasons and imposing that on others. So you follow. So it's an awakening on some level. Again, maybe still I have to learn how to do that for the right reason, but just, wow, I'm becoming aware of this layer of dysfunction, so to say, or whatever. I will make a big party to celebrate that, no? So to say, no? I'm saying that because sometimes we don't celebrate that. We just still become embarrassed because it's not for the wrong reasons. I'm wrong. Still, I'm wrong. Still, it's not the perfect way. Yes, I know, but be a little kind with yourself and celebrate the discovery, so to say. No? So I will begin with that. No? Give some time. As we need time to grieve, we need time to celebrate even what we are grieving in this connection. Because we maybe cry, oh my gosh, for the wrong reasons, but kijai, no, I'm becoming aware of that. And you can no longer return after that awareness to doing the things in the wrong way. It's not possible. I mean, it's too much. If you have some level of integrity, you cannot go back and do it in the same old way. It's like betrayal of yourself. And what I mentioned in my book is, at least for me, my personal, so to say, psychology or integrity, there's nothing worse than betraying yourself. Nothing worse than betraying yourself. At the end of the day, you know that you know what you should be doing, you are not doing it, and you are like keeping a performance, the facade. Oh my gosh, that's hell. That's hell. That's patala and below that. So I don't have a magical formula like this is what you have to do, and in a weekend you're already following for the right reasons. It's a transition, as we talked yesterday, And it may take time because, again, one was so much embedded into a certain way of doing the thing that now you are discovering that was not correct, but maybe we are not yet glimpsing the correct way fully and entering into that. But I will say be patient with that transition and try to, of course, to get insights and proximity with situations, people that you feel, okay, they are like more Saragrahi than me in following this. They are more naturally embracing the spirit of the law, so to say. And I think by proximity, it can become epidemic, and I can be influenced by that and gradually realize, that's for that. Again, they're following the rules from a totally different place. So as simple as that sounds, I think that's what works. No, it's like a new relationship you're developing with the rules, so to say. No? So it's like rediscovering the rules, like rediscovering a person, like establishing a new relationship with a person. It takes time. It's not just like press the button and we are there. No? So give time to yourself, because if not, it can be a part of that. I don't know in your case, but sometimes this neurotic spirit of, okay, I have to follow the rule in this way, and now I have to learn how to follow the rule correctly, and you still carry the same spirit of pressure and neurosis. Like, okay, I have to do it right now. I was following the rules in this wrong way before to be right, to look right. Now I realize I'm a mess and I'm doing it wrongly. So I have to quickly learn how to do it correctly. So everyone likes me, and it still is the same pattern. No? So now you want to follow correctly. So you're doing things for the right reason and everything thinks how nice you are. So part of the transition is to discover, probably sometimes these impulses come and, no, it's not from that place that I want to follow the rule. Oh, it's not from that place. So
when you mentioned that when the guru passed, there was a year that there was allowed to grieve, and especially following up with that exercise we did yesterday, is how whenever we're in that space of dissolution and transformation, it feels like, I have to now be in the next stage. And hearing you today helped me feel like, I'm allowed to have space to dissolve and transform. And that's good. Like, that's actually, that's supposed to take time. That's,
yeah.
Like,
we were talking with Tamal in Alatra, the term time alchemy. Now you have to allow time to perform its alchemy, its function, its transformation. I mean, that takes time. It's just about being aware of how reality operates. And Krishna says in the Gita, I'm time personified. So also you try to embrace those periods of uncertainty, but unfolding and feeling, okay, Krishna is time. And in this time that I'm giving, he is creating alchemy in me. He's transforming me. So impatience is a big thing to work on. We are generally so impatient. We want things, especially in the society we live in and the dynamics, immediacy, and we lose the taste for keeping the pace with how the things naturally unfold and evolve, and there are time periods for grieving, for everything. Yeah, one way of worshiping Krishna is respecting those time periods, his time. So honor time, respect time, allow time to perform the function. Yeah. It's 10:10. Where is Devamala?
Deva. I'm starting lunch.
What did he say?
He's starting lunch.
Yeah. So no, I was waiting.
Joking.
Okay, no, because I remember at 10 it was supposed to be breakfast, and it's 10:10. But also, no, my point is, I haven't seen yet someone bringing the offering, so I don't know if I should continue or should stop. The offering is there, okay. So what? One more question while the offering is done?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt the whole.
I was trying out this fungibility of rules. Never occurred to me before.
The rules are holding me back, Maharaj. I'm kidding.
Please, be free.
So, like, you were mentioning this point of one guru, several disciples. And somehow, I mean, I'm coming from South India, and so one of the hardest things to explain to my parents when practicing bhakti was like, why do you have to give this to everybody? Like, what's the need, right? Like around us, there are so many pious families. They're all going to the temple, like in their head. And I was like, no, Krishna consciousness is the need of the hour. And it was until I met like evangelical Christians, I realized. Until then, I didn't realize what my parents were trying to say. I'm trying to understand how important this Jivadaya is, you know, because it seems to be overemphasized in our societies. Save the world in 18 days. So I feel like a lot of problem comes out from this. No, we have to do it fast. There's less time. As many people. I feel that's
Oh my gosh. Each of your questions again deserve a separate retreat and seminar for sure. So.
We're going on book distribution after this.
Let's see. Yeah, as I like to mention, I mentioned in my book also, one section called Radical Inreach, and I mentioned we speak about outreach, but the outreach has to be in concordance with our inreach. So I mean, we want to take over the world, but how much our own inner world has been taken over by Krishna consciousness. So sometimes we want to save the world as an excuse not to save ourselves also. And I want to share some thoughts in this. It's way more difficult to save yourself than to save the world. In one sense. I mean, you cannot save the world if you are not saving yourself, but you can try to save the world. So you don't try it, you don't have to save yourself. So I'm totally in favor of Jivadaya. I'm not contradicting that by saying this. I'm saying that for actual Jivadaya to take place, you have to be having Jivadaya on your own Jiva, so to say. You have to show mercy on yourself by saving yourself. And saving not as a selfish project, because in Bhakti, if you want to save yourself, it's not about saving myself, actually. It's about what we already talked, which is our goal. Which is not selfish, which is not separate, separatistic. So, yeah, I know that this is my opinion. Not everyone will have that opinion, but I'm not so much about, I mean, I'm not against sharing the message, of course, but not to the point of, I mean, Jivadaya can take many forms, that's my point also. It's not that just Jivadaya go and distribute books and make more devotees. That's one expression of it. But for example, for me, in one sense, being more substantial, and Prabhupada himself said that many times. He said, I prefer one devotee that remains a devotee than a new devotee. And follow my point. So in the name of making new people, what's going on with the ones who already are there? Because that's connected with this, sometimes this system of getting newer and newer people leads to neglect those who already are in. And they eventually leave. But since there are always new people coming, there's always someone showing up in the party, so to say. So we have something to do with those people. But eventually, no. But there are always new coming. Hopefully, you know. But the goal of life is just that people become pure lovers of God. And that takes time to craft each project in that direction. So, and Prabhupada many times say also, it's time to boil the milk. Sometimes he say, let's stop opening temples. Let's concentrate on boiling the milk in his way, which means like, let's try to condense what we already have with the members we have. I mean, he didn't say stop preaching at all, but there are levels of emphasis in all the things. So again, as I mentioned these days, trying to save others can be a very noble, evasive device to neglect your own project and the progress of those who are already practicing. So,
codependency.
Sorry?
It's codependency.
It can be a form of codependency.
Because you're so concerned about what other people are going to do or coming to do that you're not paying attention to the work that you need to do on yourself.
And it's more complex to guide someone who is already a devotee into all the nuances of the bhakti journey to the point of all the detail, your ultimate goal. I mean, that's way more difficult than just bringing newcomers with a very basic generic narrative. Again, I'm not condemning that. I'm just saying it's easier and it can be more tempting. Let's emphasize there and keep the numbers coming. There are numbers, everything is okay because we have the number. But who say that the number guarantees the okay, so to say? No, so I will try. In my case, I try to give more nuanced idea of this idea of Jiva-dai, and also Jiva-dai can take other forms as well. Like it has to be, you have to be in a situation where you really experience compassion for the other person, whatever that situation is. No, I appreciate lots of Christian people who really go to people who are sick and dying. And that day I met someone in New Jersey. They have a whole project they go to. They were in Pakistan. They have an earthquake and 20,000 people died. And the whole city was dismantled, and they went and reconstructed everything. And without wanting to convert anyone. They are forbidden to do that. So I say, okay, that's good. So that's an interesting form of Jiva-dai. I'm trying to help you without expecting that you become one of my team. Because if not, our own conception of Jiva-dai is this one. You have to become a devotee. That's the only way I can show you mercy. But what if that doesn't happen? Is there a way of me to express compassion to you? Or I can only show compassion if you eventually join the temple. That's the only way I can. I'll compassion only as long as you can. If not, a lost case, let's show compassion to someone else. That's not Jiva-dai for me. So I think we need to expand that idea, and don't think like we need to, again, take over the world as soon as we can. The more, I mean, there are an unlimited number of jivas, just in case. No, so don't think that at one point all of them are on Golok and the material creation goes on ruin because there's nobody else to. I mean, that's what Thakur Haridas talked with Mahaprabhu at one point. No? He was thinking, oh, by your Sankirtan and your epidemic influence, everyone will be chanting and everyone will be delivered. So what will happen with material creation? What will happen with Maya Shakti? She will be neglected. That cannot happen. Mahaprabhu said, no, there are unlimited jivas. Now, there's not a certain amount, and eventually all of them are on that side, and we can send this world to the trash folder or trash bin or something. They're always that. So my point is, if you want to be a bodhisattva, like, okay, I will continue coming here till everyone is saved, good luck. Because there will always be someone else. And it's okay if you're willing to be here forever helping people. I have no problem with that. But so I think these things are important to conceive, not to lose compassion, but also to understand all these wider dynamics. No?
There was just a quick quote I wanted to share in relation to that I saw the other day on Facebook.
Yes.
It has good things sometimes.
Yes.
And it was like, it makes all the difference if I see my neighbor as a potential convert or as someone that God already loves. And that was just really potent to me because I feel like there is, especially in the West, this big like, join our group, everything's about teams. Politics, it's about teams. You know, everything's about teams. And we lose sight of the radical personalism that's required to like really please Krishna in the hearts of all that he already loves. So that was one quote that I really felt stuck with me. Because sometimes with, you know, preaching is good. I think it can be a very good thing. And I also think it can be a harmful thing in some ways. You know, like you were saying, they went and they rebuilt this city, but they weren't saying you have to believe in God for this, you know, but you have situations where people go and they'll like, we'll give you clean water, but you have to join our church, you know, and it's like this really sad and exploitative kind of like attempt to share God, but
it's manipulation.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you help people only to feel a sense of I'm a good person because I'm helping you and I'm superior. You need help, I'm providing the help. You create this hierarchy of ego, so to say. So yeah, preaching or giving a book externally doesn't necessarily mean that you are doing it from the correct place internally. So I appreciate your point in terms of Jiva-dai, because Jiva-dai means being compassionate with someone other, and being compassionate means I'm showing unconditional help, grace. Unconditional grace means it doesn't matter if you convert or not. That's not on the map. That may happen as a byproduct, not as my first and foremost intention, no? Because again, as we say yesterday, what drives me to want to convert other people? Again, it's universal love, or it's just like a neurosis of getting more and more numbers to feel we're doing it correctly because so many people is joining. I mean, there are so many crazy groups that have way more people than us. That means that they're doing better because of the big number. I mean, number is nothing. Now, number is not. We're after intimate circles, I will say, no? And that's a little bit in connection to today's topic, which somehow we went into 3,000 other topics, which is perfect. I'm okay. But for me, a big part of the future of Gaudiya Vaishnavism in the stairs is like small groups. Even if big institutions are still there, but the development of small groups of intimate Swajatiya Sadhu Sangha, what Rupa Goswami say, like-minded, heart-minded, like-hearted people sharing, even if it's from different affiliations. No? Like here, I mean, most of you maybe be affiliated with ISKCON. I've never been, but I'm totally aligned with all of you and connected with all of you. Like I always say when I was talking with Deva Madhava, he will tell me, there is ISKCON and there is my ISKCON, he will tell me. And I will ask him, and I am part of your ISKCON? He said, yes, Maharaj. So that's for me the idea. No? I mean, the future for me in this term is like close, intimate groups where we can share with one another in very like-minded, like-hearted spirit. And institutions maybe they're doing their job on maintaining structures, and I'm not against institutions, but they have these ups and downs. Again, no need to over-absolutize institutions. That's institutionalism, and that's not healthy. No? So yeah, I appreciate that the possibility for intimate connection with people like you. I wanted just to also express that at one point. So thank you so much for giving me your association and your company. I feel very fortunate. So, okay, still the offering is going on. The Madhava is continuing with lunch over there. One more question.
I think you're just one.
You already raised your hand a few times with your permission. Both. Someone can adopt Chaturbuj, 4 arms to defeat Jainitai, and I will. Anya, one question? Yeah. And Deva Madhava is coming to pick the offering, so that's the last question before lunch or breakfast. I don't know at this point. Brunch. You have this here, yeah. Oh yeah. You're right. Sorry.
It's not really a question. It's an appreciation.
Okay.
I've been following your work on YouTube for a long time and feeling like connecting with you through your book. And I had this light bulb go off of like, for me, and maybe others might appreciate this sort of summary of like, why do I appreciate your teaching so much, you know? And it's like, oh, the word relaxation came to mind, especially in connection with what Sri Radha was saying, like feeling fear about losing your human form or what happens, you know, and then with Vrindavani about the rules and things. And it's like, I feel like you're tuning into this flow of explaining things in a way that brings relaxation to the body, mind, and heart. And that's the place I feel, and I'm new to Bhakti, but it feels to me that that's the place where Bhakti can really flourish, is relaxation. Because if we're tense about things, we're tense about trying to fit in, or we're tense about trying to follow the rules, or we're tense about what happens in my other lifetimes. We've got all these fears and doubts swirling around. That tension, like, is not compatible with this, like, opening of the heart or this flowing towards Krishna. So that's my perception of kind of the overview of what you shared, at least what I've experienced so far, is this relaxation. So I just want to extend that appreciation to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm committed to your experience, and hopefully I can properly honor that, because the opposite of faith is fears in one sense. No, I mean, we are trying to promote faith and confidence and this type of positive values. So if in the name of a tradition of faith and love, fear is a norm, I mean, that goes against our ideal. So we need to figure out our process in a way that is user-friendly, basically, and sustainable, because we don't want to be devoted for a few years. We want to be devoted for eternity. So this is another phase of sustainability. You know, how to make my practice sustainable. We are Vaishnavas. Vaishnavas worship Vishnu. Vishnu is the god of sustenance, sustainability. And sustaining something doesn't mean to keep the thing always the same in the same modes. In order to sustain a relationship, it has to grow. It's relatively difficult to create something. It's easier to destroy what you created. But the most difficult thing is to maintain it. Because maintaining is always growing. You cannot maintain something in the same place. And maintaining our spiritual project basically means maintaining a relationship we are developing with Krishna, with everything else, with him in the center. So yeah, that's our task as Vaishnavas: maintenance, sustainability, how we can make our bhakti project sustainable. You can imagine 23 years, how many devotees I've seen coming, how many devotees I've seen go. I mean, I can be crying for the next month over them just because of that. No. And again, that's not the goal. Have lots of people coming and have lots of people leaving. But keep lots of people coming so nobody notices the leaving. No, that's not the idea. Try to cover the leaving with more people coming. No. Try to make those who are coming to continue arrive. How we continue arrive to Krishna consciousness. We already arrived, but we have to continue arriving deeper layers. So yeah, that has been the attempt. That's my personal attempt. And naturally it may extend to others, but that's my personal struggle. I want to remain being a devotee for the right reasons. I don't want to be a Vaishnava after 30, 40 years and for the wrong reasons. I mean, that will be the deepest self-betrayal I can perform to myself. So I prefer to kill myself in front of you right now instead of doing that. No? So that's the healthy concern, not the neurosis, but a healthy concern. I want to continue for the right reasons every single day, choosing to remain as a Vaishnava for the right reasons. And there are so many layers of those right reasons. Again, it's not that I already got to the right reason. Tomorrow there will be a new level of depth to that, and so on and so forth. So yeah, here we are trying to remind each other how we can continue together from the proper place for the right reasons. So thank you so much for you reminding me all those things with your presence, with your words. We'll stop here. We'll have prasad, and probably the next meeting, let's see what the boss says over there in the kitchen. But Padmanabha, yes, we are ready for breakfast. And probably the next meeting will be a little later. Or at which time do you think?
We'll start the next meeting. It was scheduled for 11, so we'll do 11:30.
Okay.
And if also everybody could tidy up their cabins and pack into the cars, that kind of thing. Technically, we're supposed to be out of the cabins by 11. I don't think there's any harassment that's going to come per se, but just have all that done before you come back up here.
I asked if we could remove the sheets and bedding from the beds and just put it all in a pile.
Yeah, just throw it all in a pile like an Airbnb kind of thing. Just put all the bedding in a pile of sheets, pillows.
So we have an hour for breakfast and that. Do you think it's enough time? Yeah.
No. 11:45. It's kitchery. It's not a 7-course meal.
Okay.
So 11:45.
Okay. Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premananda Hari, Vacha Kalpataru Vishya Kripa Sindhu Bhiri Vacha Patitam Pavaneshu Vaishnavebhyo Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.